Some MAGA lunatics and conservative weirdos are losing their minds because a pro-Kamala Harris ad is rightfully pointing out that maybe some married women have a difference of opinion about who should be the next president of the United States. But if you end up getting anything out of this video, please remember to hit that subscribe button. I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I would very much appreciate your support. Now, as some of you may know, it turns out that the gender gap in this election is going to be quite sizable. It seems like women are flocking to Kamala Harris like it's nobody's business. So that might sometimes manifest in a way where married women are voting in a different way than their MAGA husbands. So when a pro-Kamala Harris PAC put out an ad pointing out this exact phenomenon, some of these weirdos really lost their minds. So let's go ahead and take a look at the ad really quick, and then we will discuss.
Your turn, honey.
In the one place in America where women still have a right to choose, you can vote any way you want, and no one will ever know.
Did you make the right choice?
Sure did, honey.
Remember, what happens in the booth stays in the booth. Vote Harris Walls.
So maybe the ad is a little bit hyperbolic, saying this is the only place you have left to choose. Maybe that's hyperbolic, but I would say overall it's a pretty good ad. I think it's slightly humorous, and I think it's correctly pointing out what could be a very real phenomenon in this election. You know, as much as I would love to live in a world where the husband and the wife share everything with each other and are just 100% honest at all times, I am under no illusions that we live in such a world. There are going to be times when you might have a MAGA husband who is a bit too aggressive in his political views, and the wife just might not feel comfortable or willing to have that argument. And that's okay. Women have their own agency, and we should be proud that we live in a country where women have their own agency and they can make their own decisions. And sometimes it's going to look like this. And that doesn't mean that we are promoting the dishonesty between spouses, but it does realize that sometimes these divisions are going to exist, and they are rightly telling folks that, remember, what you do in that voting booth is your business and your business only. And I think that's the exact right message. But if you are Charlie Kirk, who has a very conservative worldview, this really freaks you out. Let's go ahead and listen to what he had to say, and then we'll go from there.
And she needs people to basically lie to their husbands, which they are promoting, by the way, which I find that entire advertising campaign so repulsive. It is so disastrous. It is just like
I'll show it in a minute.
It is the embodiment of the downfall of the American family. I think it's so gross. I think it's so just nauseating, where this wife is wearing you'll show it, wearing the American hat. She's coming in with her sweet husband, who probably works his tail off to make sure that she can go, you know, and have a nice life and provides for the family. And then she lies to him saying, oh yeah, I'm going to vote for Trump. And then she votes for Kamala Harris as her little secret in the voting booth. Kamala Harris and her team believe that there will be millions of women that undermine their husbands, and do so in a way that it's not detectable in the polling. So that's something they're counting on. And if that's correct, that speaks for much deeper moral decay of the country, Megyn, than anything that politics could ever solve, right?
Moral decay? What is wrong with these people? Why are they so weird? Charlie Kirk, you are not beating the weird allegations when you sound like this. We live in a modern world with modern families where women have their own agency to make their own decisions. What is this rhetoric about, you know, women should be subservient to their husbands because he is the one who is providing a nice life for them. Therefore, the wife needs to do whatever he says. Isn't that kind of the undertone that we just heard? Do these people not realize we are living in a world today where many young women are out-earning their male counterparts? I mean, this is just such a backwards view of how things work. And it's no wonder women don't want to vote for somebody like Donald Trump when you have Charlie Kirk, a Trump acolyte, who says stuff like this. Not to mention the overturning of Roe v. Wade and women living with fewer rights today than their parents or their grandparents did. I mean, this is the exact type of rhetoric that women are probably repulsed by. And Charlie Kirk just feels more than comfortable coming out and saying that, maybe husbands should control their wives. And if you are voting different than your husband, then you are somehow degrading the family unit. I mean, this is really quite disgusting stuff. And then Megyn Kelly goes on to say, well, why can't they just be honest?
And so it doesn't surprise me that she and her team would come up with, let's do something that talks about dishonesty and division in a marriage where someone betrays the other. And that's totally normal. That they don't have the kind of marriage where they can just be honest about their political differences. The wife must lie to her husband, the father of her children, in order to support me, Kamala Harris.
Okay, we have to get one thing straight here, and that is that the Kamala Harris campaign is not the one who made this ad. It was a third-party pact called Vote Common Good. So Harris had nothing to do with this. Megyn Kelly obviously doesn't know what she's talking about, and she obviously just doesn't realize that just because we are saying that these are the possibilities that exist in our world where a wife can vote differently from her husband doesn't mean that we are actively promoting dishonesty between spouses. We just happen to live in a world where these types of divisions could exist in a marriage, especially in today's political environment where we have people like Charlie Kirk, a ardent MAGA cultist who has very strong worldviews, who is likely detached from reality in many areas of his life. And it could be very possible that if somebody was married to him, that they wouldn't feel comfortable having that conversation and saying, hey, I definitely prefer Kamala Harris. These types of situations exist. They're going to continue to exist if MAGA doesn't lay off this type of rhetoric. It is wild to me that they just feel so comfortable espousing these backwards views. We are not in the 1950s where women aren't allowed to have credit cards, where they can't go off and do something unless they have their husband's permissions. That is not the world we live in, and I'm glad it is not the world we live in. And then Charlie goes on to say that she's trying to subvert marriages, man. Let's go ahead and take a look.
It is really, it's demented. And just to be clear, they are promoting, I don't want to say infidelity because that's not fair to say, but it's a form of, marital yeah, no, that's exactly right. There's a form of marital dishonesty. So Kamala Harris's path to the White House is marital subversion. That's a better way to say it. Is that if Kamala Harris were to win, there would be widespread marital subversion. I want everyone to understand that. If you're on the fence about voting, Kamala Harris wants to get power so badly. She wants to turn wives against husbands and think that's like cool and does a television advertisement against it.
Charlie Kirk seems really proud of himself for coming up with that marital subversion tagline right in the middle of this podcast. Very proud, Charlie. I mean, come on, guys. Just because a wife votes differently from her husband doesn't mean that she's necessarily subverting the marriage. It doesn't mean that Kamala Harris is promoting the lying to a spouse or the dishonesty between spouses. These people just want to tar and feather Democrats. They want to tar and feather Kamala Harris. They want to make her out to be the candidate who doesn't believe in the family, is trying to tear families apart. This has been a common thing for the conservative movement for quite some time. But I've got news for them. Democrats raise families. They have children. They love their kids too. So for you to just go out there and try to presume that we are trying to tear the family apart because we recognize that today's political environment might make it possible for a woman to vote differently than their husband, and that's okay. I just don't understand this backwards rhetoric. These people are upset that women are flocking to Kamala Harris, but then go out and espouse this type of rhetoric, which is quite ironic because it was Megyn Kelly trying to say that we should tone down the bro-tastic rhetoric at the Madison Square Garden rally, but then she goes on the podcast with Charlie Kirk and does this sort of thing. We live in a modern world, guys. We have modern families. Sometimes the women are the one who are out there earning for the family, and that's okay too. They can have their own decision. They can make their own decisions when it comes to who they want to vote for, especially when your guy is Donald Trump, somebody who has been found liable of sexual abuse, somebody who is responsible for overturning Roe v. Wade. So it's just the world we live in. If you don't like it, maybe update your worldview to better accommodate women in the modern world. And until then, just stop whining about it. If you guys do not have a plan to vote, please make a plan to vote. Many states offer same-day registration, so check in with your state if you're not registered, see if you can register same day, and then make a plan to vote. This could be one of the most consequential elections that you participate in, and it's very important that everybody gets out there and makes their voices heard and hopefully deliver a crushing blow to Donald Trump. And hopefully maybe he'll go away after that, huh? Maybe. I'll leave it there. If you guys got anything out of this video, please do remember to smash that like button and subscribe. Maybe share it with a friend or two. I'd very much appreciate that. Like I said, I am trying to make it to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I would very much appreciate your support. If you want to learn about how Kamala Harris will actually fight for the protection of reproductive rights and other women's rights, go ahead and watch that video on the screen now. Otherwise, I'll see you guys on the next one.